hello everyone. I hope you have enjoyed all the sessions until now. Right now I'm going to talk with Shalvi. We're going to talk some fun things about her work and in general.
Yes.
And then we're going to settle a debate about which is the best city in India to live. It's obviously Bangalore. But at the same time, me and Shalvi were just talking, right? And we thought that while the dialogue on inclusivity and diversity is important, it's also important to kind of celebrate and talk about some of the work that successful women in technology are doing. And no better than Shalvi to have this conversation.
Yeah, this is after he said Bangalore is a better city, I said Delhi. So,
So we have to settle that debate. But while we do that, I think all of you might, I don't know if you have seen it, but there is this documentary series that goes on I think National Geographic or Discovery, and it's called Mega Factories. And there's like a huge, so what usually happens when there's like huge sets of work delivery or production that happens, right? And I think Shalvi does just that, especially when it comes to producing analytics. So we're going to discuss analytics at...
That's a wrong comparison set from a delivery to this.
Analytics. Anyways, so Shalvi, you have 14,000 analytics and data professionals,
Yep.
and you provide services to 30 clients across 30 countries, right?
Yeah, almost 300
Yeah.
plus across 30 countries.
Yeah.
You're right.
What does operationalization in this context mean, right, in technology, and how are you kind of organized in a way to kind of enable this?
See, if you think about when you have to manage such a large scale, I think what's very important is you have the right structures and you have the right people and the right goals alignment. To me, that's the first thing to start with. So answering your second question first, we are structured at 2 dimensions. I think every company has a metrics. All of you would have seen it or would be seeing it. So our first dimension is clients, which is very important, focus on client value, and second is talent, where we are organized as practices. So 2 structures aligned to clients and their requirements, and then talent and practices. So those are the 2 angles at which we scale and bring it together. So I think that's how we are structured. At every node of client and practice, we have a leader, we have a set of leaders who are aligned to deliver value. And the focus always, and when I say value, you have to think about values for 2 perspectives, is business value for client and business value for employee. Because they both are extremely important. So that's how we are structured and we focus on. And the key thing is, because when 2 people with different perspectives come together, I need to think about my people, how do I get the best for them? And there is a person who's saying, I need to get best delivery for my client. You need to have the right set of goals alignment. So I think that's very key for us to structure that these are the goals we are aligned, this is how we'll make it happen. So that's a little bit in terms of how we structure, because if you don't have the right structure, I can tell you every delivery will fail.
Yeah.
So once we've aligned that, then I think it's a lot about standardization with flexibility to innovate. Because this is not a business where once you standardize and say, this is how you'll work, this is how the deal will come in, this is how you'll deploy, work can't happen, you can't deliver. So that's where at the grassroots level of project delivery, we allow a lot of flexibility innovation. But at an overall level, we have a lot of tools, technologies to make sure you manage some of the basic things. When you have 14,000 people, you have a project which comes in. Where do you get the right skill set from? Who are the people? How many do you upskill? How do you think about getting the right flying formation? So I think all those things, we have put a lot of tools, technologies around it. How do you think of creating an environment where people can talk what they're feeling, getting inputs from employees, clients, measuring delivery assurance? So I think a big focus for us is to standardize that and then make it happen.
So processes
It's
and
process
standardization.
standardized, but delivery is you drive a lot of flexibility and innovation.
Okay.
That's the slight nuance I want to bring in.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have standardized process, you can't scale. But if you don't innovate, you can't deliver value.
Okay, that's a very that's an interesting perspective. I think one of the things, and I used to be a data scientist before I became a journalist. So the
Good
thing,
move. I've heard you did a very good session yesterday.
but you know, I used to work as a data scientist, and I always used to wonder what my manager does, right? Because I used to be like, I'm speaking to the client, I am doing the deliverable, I'm talking to him about the client. And what does he do? Now that I've done a little bit or gotten into a few managerial roles,
Now you know what it means.
now I understand it. But I never really kind of understood what, or still for many of us, can you give us a glimpse of what your day looks like? What is that? Where do you start? So as a data scientist, we read emails, put a deliverable together, went back to the client, said, you know what, this is the deliverable. What is your deliverable? What
See,
is happening?
any role that you do, your day starts with an email, your day ends with an email. In parallel, there are WhatsApp messages that you have to clear. But I can tell you, I think, if I think about it's a lot about how do you start thinking. You have to constantly think about, from your business perspective, what's happening, what are the growth factors, what are the challenges we're facing. I think typically the first thing in my day is just go through emails and highlight the ones which are really critical and red flags. 30% of my time goes on closing the red flags. 30% of my time, which I love to do, is just meeting people. And that's one of the things I love, by the way, interacting with people. I don't know, just getting to know, spending time. And I can chat with anyone over a cup of coffee. No common agendas, I can do that. So I do spend a lot of time with my people, not just because it's my passion. That's how you hear what's happening at the grassroots level. The more you meet people, the more you understand issues, challenges that you can help solve. See, a lot of our jobs that all of you do or all of us do, part of it is technical. But you don't stay for technical work alone. You need an environment which fosters creativity, which gives you space to grow. So I think that's where I spend at least 30 to 35% of my time, which is my team and teams beyond my team, because it's a network of individuals in an organization. If you don't know the person who's in another team, how will you help grow them and they grow you? Then the rest 30% is all around growth. How do we think about it, talking to people, what's happening, how do we make it happen, how do we ease out some of the ways of working. You know what? SOW takes time. Everyone knows legal contracts. Oh my God, this hasn't opened, how do I deploy? So figuring some of that piece out, but it's people, growth, and red flags. That's what I do. But start with an email, close with an email is what it is still.
Yeah, I think enabling a culture is a very interesting part, right? And this I've always wondered, whenever, let's say, an associate or a data scientist works, their success or their kind of these ROIs are measured in terms of the errors they do or the accuracies of their models or these kind of things, right? There's some certain sets of parameters. Strategic initiatives, on the other hand, have a much broader kind of this thing.
3 years ROIC, which no one sees what happens.
Yeah.
The person who's delivering today, I don't know why they're investing. God knows when he'll give returns. I'm doing it today.
Yeah, but then how do you kind of, whichever strategic initiatives you take as a CEO of Genpact Analytics, how do you kind of measure your success, your ROIs in terms of this, right?
So I'll tell you the way, there are different levels at which we look at ROIs. I think from a project perspective, obviously, what you have promised to client has to be done. So it's delivered to promise is one of the most important things. But I think when I look at it, it is about client business value. Have we as a team made an impact within that week, within that month, whatever the time frame is, in either helping him or her grow their top line or helping them manage their bottom line? I think it's always about this team is successful if it's created client business value, not immediate project, but the larger one, because the moment you make him or her successful, the success comes back to you. You do a lot more interesting projects. You move up the curve. People feel happy working for that particular engagement. So to me, it's business value that you create, which in turn creates value. Now, if you go to the project level, obviously you have to make sure you're delivering whatever is the time commitment you've said you will go and do. So all those are there. But at an overall level, it is your client business value. That's what grows.
Okay.
And as my focus is to make sure we grow so that everyone in the organization and the teams grow.
Okay. No, that's the other perspective that I would come to, right? Talent management. When you say you have to get business value, it is impossible for you to kind of oversee every 14,000.
Oh yeah.
14,000.
There are great leaders that are there to make that.
So
we've all gone through that process.
Yes. So then how do you kind of ensure that you're reaching at the grassroots level? We always, sometimes as an associate, as a data scientist, we feel that some of our pain points are not reached to this thing. We are trying our best, but at the same time, there is some issue which is not reaching. What is the mechanism that you follow to reach at the grassroots level to kind of identify what are some of their pain points and then help alleviate them?
See, you told me not to say what Genpact does, but I'm sorry, I will have to say a little bit of that.
I didn't say it.
Yes, we will not. But I tell you, see, when we were young and we were at the early stages of our career, it was your manager would just walk in, sort of have a chat with you, figure out what are the things, there'll be skips, pulse, etc., which used to happen. And some of them still continue. I think post-hybrid, post-COVID, it became a little more difficult in pandemic because you couldn't connect. One of the things which we do, at least, we have a chatbot tool, a people chatbot tool called Amber, and I'm not promoting that. All I'm saying is it goes to it touches employees at different points of time which are critical, maybe at 3 months, if you're a new joinee, 30 days, 60 days. It's where you can just say what's working, what's not working. It's another tool which aids to know what's happening. And what happens through that is you get thousands of people, what are they feeling? And if there's a common sentiment, the sentiments come across. See, individual problems have to be solved on a one-to-one. That goes without saying, and every level has to do it. But that gives an overall sentiment. Is wellness an issue? Are people really stressed out? Or is there's a particular team where there are no discussions one-on-ones? So I think we use a combination of the tools, technologies, plus a lot more focus on employee touch that drives it. Are we great at it? I can tell you no, but obviously I feel we do a decent job around it. Is there scope for improvement? Yes. But until unless you meet people, until unless you talk to them, I don't think you can solve issues. I still strongly believe in personal connects.
So it's important to kind of communicate and understand.
Communicate, connect, and give direction. See, if you don't stand up and say, this is what I want to achieve as a business unit, or as a project manager, this is what I want delivered as a project. If you don't communicate, you don't understand their pain points, how will work happen?
Yeah.
So I think that communication of direction and then touch points is extremely important.
Yeah, I think there are two aspects to this as well, right? In terms of understanding pain points, not only people are different, but at the same time the technology is evolving so fast as well. While when you were working as an associate, probably the pain points are much different than what currently the pain points are. So probably the continuous communication is something that is always...
See, I'll tell you, technologies will evolve, people will worry what will happen to my career, I'll be obsolete, I'm not getting trained, etc. But I can guarantee it was the same problem 10 years back, 20 years back. And it would have been at our parents' time also, because it's about job security, it is about how I grow. So the human sentiments remain the same. The way it gets expressed, the challenges, the environment changes. So I think that's why I say go back to basics. At least when it comes to people, I strongly believe in going back to basics.
Yeah, and I think, so this is a perspective or this is something which is very important for employees within the company. Talent attraction is also another very major problem that every leader...
Especially in today's world.
Yeah, in every leader in analytics is trying to solve. It is not as bad as it was after the pandemic. Things are slightly slowing down. What is your kind of approach? What are some of the things that you do as a leader to ensure that there's good intake of talent and a healthy attrition rate overall, and that the churn of talent is maintained and they scale careers as well at the same time within the organization?
I think most of the organizations would follow similar ways of how you attract talent and retain, because it's an industry-wide challenge and an industry-wide need. I think nothing new that I will say that we have a strong campus program. I don't think there'll be anyone sitting in this room who would not have seen a campus program, either came through or has hired. So I think we believe strongly in building talent from that grassroots level in terms of engaging while they're college. How do you get them? How do you get the interns? How do you convert? So that campus to corporate is a very important piece of our journey. The second thing about talent is, at least in Genpact, I'll tell you, because we are just not an analytics company, we have a larger piece. We have a big talent pool, which we feel we can upskill, and we run some systematic programs in getting people up the skill to do some of the basic work. So we are leveraging that talent pool to almost, how do we upskill some of them depending on the aptitude, attitude, etc. Can we move some of the people and train them? That's a lateral talent pool which a lot of other tech organizations would not have. So that helps us in a bit, because there are a lot of people who could not have got into engineering college but have the aptitude. Today they are doing a processing work. Can I really spend a year with them, upskill and bring it in? So I think that's the other route that we look at an operational level. How do we upskill people? And then just like everyone, you want to get lateral hires, you want to figure out who's best in the industry and attract. I think attracting is easy, it is the retention. And I was just doing a people review. Touchwood, our attrition rate is pretty low, fingers crossed, I hope it remains next month also. But the themes when we were talking about what it comes to retaining people were just three. People really want to be developing their careers, which basically means they need the latest and the brightest tech skills at a junior level. At a mid-level, they're all talking about how do you give me soft skills to become better leaders. So it is all about if you can provide that environment, whether enrolling them in courses or your own, that becomes extremely important, and most of the organizations do it well. But I think the difference at least is when your culture is all about people and upskilling, that makes the difference. So we focus a lot in terms of how do we make sure people feel this is the place to get their talent built. Genpact is known not to be a paymaster. We're known to be helping create careers, and that's the brand and that's what we want to create. So that creates a difference in terms of retention. I myself have been in this organization for 22, 23 years. I don't know what I've done, various roles, but yes. And there are a lot of people in Genpact you'll see who have that age. It's all about building careers is what we believe in.
Okay. When you say attraction is not so much an issue today, is that?
Today meaning last 2-3 months.
Last 2, okay.
Let me clarify.
That's the time span.
YTD.
Yeah, fair enough. No, because this thing, in terms of retention, right? You said retention is also difficult, and we were trying to analyze some of the things as a research team. What makes an employee happy, right? And we came up with we think that there are 3 things essentially. One is benefits in terms of monetary or non-monetary. One, in today's world, especially, is an identity. You should feel that you belong there, like you're
That's
respected.
a belongingness.
Yeah, and then you feel you feel proud of representing the brand, right? And then there is a purpose, which is in terms of your current work delivery as well as the overall career growth. And all of this is enabled by a good value quotient. This was our approach. Do you see this in the context of analytics as well, or is there any other angle to it as well in terms of?
See, whatever you talked about all goes into what we call employee value proposition.
Employee value.
So what is my employee value proposition for different teams? And every team, whether it's analytics or some of our the digital operations work, we all have slightly different value proposition. Because there is a different need that each group has. It cannot be a standard employee value prop across. It's to the point, how do I feel valued? How do I feel I'm recognized? How do I feel I'm adding and becoming more marketable? So one of the things for the analytics talent is every year I should feel I've added a skill which makes me more marketable. Whether I leave or not, but is organization making me do that? Is it allowing me to work on tough projects? So I think that's how we define value prop, and then it goes to different teams having slightly different within the broader umbrella. You fine tune and tweak depending on the needs. But last year was really tough. None of the employee value props during pandemic work, everything changed. People didn't come to work. The feeling of belonging to an organization culture all went away. So now it's about how do you get that back and communicate a lot more effectively. That's where we are right now in our journey.
Yeah, so communication is a recurring theme. It's very
Absolutely.
important.
The more you touch base, the more you communicate, the better it is. Going back to my point earlier, it is all about employee touch. Because then you hear, when you hear, you act. When you act, you create value for them.
Yeah, and when it comes to delivery, right, work delivery, when it comes to client, I just took an example of mega factories, like when they produce, let's say, bottles of Coca-Cola or any other product as such, they have to ensure that that standard is the same. It can be consumed the same. Analytics, on the other hand, is a very tricky game.
Very tricky. You can't have the same standards. You
can't have the same because it's all different human beings.
It's contextualized to the business problem you're solving for.
Yeah.
Are you helping a bank grow, or are you helping a CPG sell more?
So how do you ensure that there is some kind of standard when you're doing analytics at that scale? 14,000 data scientists producing the same amount of quality of work day in, day out.
See, there are different levels, and I will talk from my perspective. The way we look at it, there is a business risk assessment structure framework we've created. There's a delivery assurance framework we've created, which sort of is percolated down that this is how we'll work. These are the standard things. But again, to the point, the innovation is the key. I think the way we look at from I don't want to call standard delivery, but deliver to promise is a constant view of what are the what have we committed, what are the milestones, and how do we make it happen. The project manager has to make sure it's happening. But the good thing is there are certain frameworks and tools we've developed which sort of bubbles up everything. So like today, if I want on a click of a button, I can know out of the 1,000 projects which are going on, which 3 are red, which are yellow, which needs attention. So that's very easy for us then to get the leadership attention to deep dive in. So I think delivery assurance is making sure you're getting each of your manager, project manager, leader to understand what it means, what is our commitment, and how will we make it happen, and then having a mechanism for it to bubble up. See, the QA, etc., everyone will do. But how do you make sure people can tap into the best of resources? So if I'm doing a project and I get stuck, Do I know there are 4 experts who can come in and solve? How do I find those 4 experts? So how do you make some of those things easy and available is another piece that we work from a delivery perspective.
Yeah, and one of the things that my manager taught always me is automation helps. Automate things. The computer is more likely to kind of get it lesser
I look
wrong
at simplifying humans to get the work done versus automation.
Okay.
I don't have to do that work. If you can help me with a water bottle, that's better.
Yeah, but in terms of intelligent automation, right? I think the entire the AI and the ML innovation that is happening today, I think that is helping in a lot of ways to automate processes as well as make decisions. Do you leverage AI ML to ensure your analytics is kind of automated intelligently in a way? And if yes, how? And how has it evolved over a period of time is also
So
interesting.
we've evolved on the journey. There is still a lot to do, I'll tell you. And I'll talk about, there are 2 parts of the business where we've evolved and we look at it very differently. The first part is, if you think about, because AI cuts across, we don't look at AI only as part of this analytics. Every work that we do for our client has to have an embedded analytics into it. So what we've done is for the operating parts, and I'll come to the analytics part in a minute, where there was a lot of human intensive work in terms of decision making, I will run macros in Excel, etc. There we've actually democratized AI in terms of training almost 50,000 of our operators to say, when you have this problem, these are 5 tools you could use to simplify life. You don't have to come specifically to an analytics team to solve for it. So it is giving them basic tools, technologies to you to deliver insights in day-to-day work. So for example, earlier, it's a very rudimentary example of way back from a BPO industry. When we do collections, we will have a team of 5 people who will say, what's my collection strategy? Today, we've empowered our people to, if you're doing collections, you yourself can run and figure which out of these 1,000 should I pick first. So that's what I'm talking of from on the operating side, how we have democratized AI. Then on the analytics side, obviously there are a lot of things we are doing in terms of how do we do, we are actually picking up, and I don't know if Srikanth is there, I definitely want to call him. He's been our key person in terms of driving ML ops. So there's that huge shift we are doing. I think we are 20–30% on the journey because the scope is so huge and the space at which technology is evolving, computing is evolving, it'll really do wonders over a period of time.
When you say democratization, you're talking about democratization of tools.
Tools, because data is available.
Okay.
If there is a data, see, ultimately the work that we as a company do, it's all about data. There's data availability. How do I democratize tools so people can pick that data and drive insights themselves? That's the big focus.
Can you give an example of this thing? Because what does because essentially tools, you buy a license and everybody has those tools. But what does, apart from that, what does democratization mean exactly?
Democratization from perspective of can I use it for my day-to-day work? So
Okay.
I'm thinking of a good example. Just how many are from banking insurance industry in this group? If less, then I'll pick a different example, but okay. So suppose you are someone who has to, you are a person who's helping a client say this is how you should be, these are the 5 products you should be cross-selling. And you're on a customer service call, there's a call which comes in an inbound call and you're aiding, you know what, pick this product and cross-sell. Democratizing would mean the moment that individual who's doing it looks at it and says, these are the 5 things about that person who's called me. Looking at this, I should never sell a mutual fund, I should never sell an insurance policy, only thing I should sell is invest in SIP plans. That's what I mean, because that's where insight comes in and creates business value. So it is about how does he or she use those simple tools in their day-to-day work so that they can actually convert and help business get better value. That's what I meant by democratizing. It is not about the hardcore modeling, okay, that you can't. These are about simple things because that's where it starts.
No, but the entire the revolution around, there's these companies with missions of creating citizen data scientists, right? They want to even democratize availability of AI/ML tools. They want anyone...
Which is a longer way, I would say. It's not there yet.
It's not there yet. Yeah.
No, and that's what I'm saying. We are at 20–30% of the journey. This is a longer journey which will happen, and there are a lot of changes which have to happen to enable.
Yeah, but if you had to kind of work in that direction,
push in that direction.
If you wanted to kind of start enabling, you said you do a lot of lateral hires as well. The one thing that I always get and understand that people say is that you have to always kind of ensure you understand the basics irrespective of this thing. Without that, don't start modeling. You have to.
I don't know what do I say. With Chat GPT now you can write books, you can do everything. So I don't know where to start talking about the basics.
Yeah, but then would you, if you had to kind of, if that was the next step for you, right? You're scaling analytics, and if you, that is something that you want to, and Genpact and many other KPOs, BPOs, they are going data first or AI
Data first,
first, whenever offering their solutions. They have to kind of democratize even intelligent tools. What would you kind of, how would you start off the process, or have you?
See, I think the way we are thinking about it is slightly nuanced in terms of the first and the foremost is how do you make sure you have the right talent to do that? Because not everyone can run those tools and technologies. So first you have to understand which are the ones which are basics that you teach, which are the ones which are where you need a lot more technical skills. So it is about if you have this problem to solve, can I take 5 people who can do the basics, but there are 1 or 2 people who are embedded who do high-end modeling. To me, democratizing will happen when everyone comes together to solve it. Can you ask, like, if I'm a pure operator, can I literally go and run a complex model? No. And that's not, sorry, that's not the intent that we are aiming for. Sorry, I've been, but I think what we are aiming for is not the high-end modeling to be democratized. It is about basic insights that help you do your work better.
Okay. I think with that note, I think our time is also up. So maybe we can take a few questions.
Yeah.
And any questions from the audience? We are happy to take them.